great, great note with that. Paul Shoddy, who has passed, he ran and owned Head Country Barbecue for years. Man, his team was Head Country 2 because Danny Head was Head Country 1. Those guys rock and rolled. Eddie, the Fast Eddie, the guy that the smokers that I use and everything. He rock and rolled for years in his brisket down in the southern parts of the United States. Ray Lampy. There's another one that had his great thing stuff. There's just so many guys out there. Don and Sharon Wheels, Jumpin' Jack. He perfected the butter bath for chicken that we all use in competition chicken. There's just so many things that are out there no one has a clue about anymore.
Exactly. And you saying that, I've never heard of that. And you're the first person that gave them credit to the butter bath. And I bet you half the people that do it don't even know that. Wow. Listen, learn, get inspired. I'm Tavis Bryant, and this is BBQ Therapy. Like, subscribe, and follow to help grow the barbecue therapy community. Also, visit my website at www.bbqtherapypodcast.com.
Bring on down, barbecue, your barbecue on. Get your barbecue on. Get your barbecue on.
Welcome to the BBQ Therapy Podcast. My name is Tavis Bryant. Today we got someone who embodies precision, patience, and the relentless pursuit of perfection that barbecue demands. He didn't start with a smoker. He started out with a cattle farm and a butcher's knife. He's a two-time world barbecue champion, a Jack Daniel's Invitational Grand Champion, and world food champion, an innovator, teacher, Hall of Fame in Oklahoma barbecue, as well as KCBS Hall of Fame, if I be correct, and learning meat science on the cutting block to mastering competition cooking to influencing thousands of cooks around the world. This is David Bouska of Butcher BBQ. David, welcome to the show. I got one rule: make yourself at home.
Man, I appreciate that. And I'll be honest with you, that's about the only way I know how to do. I appreciate the invite, and I welcome all the future questions from the Barbecue Therapy Podcast people listening.
All right, no problem. All right, well, let's take it back to where it all started. Where were you born, and what was the food scene in your house growing up? Or were you in the city, the farm? Or explain a little bit about that.
I was raised on a farm. Actually, right here where I'm sitting, our farm wasn't 6 miles down the road, so I haven't migrated very far.
Oh, wow.
We had a modest 50 acres mom and dad owned.
Ooh.
And we had another 160 beside us that we ran our cattle on. And so we had just enough to keep 3 boys. I got 2 siblings and everything. So enough to keep 3 boys in trouble fishing on the ponds and trying to keep fences up.
How many cattle did y'all have?
We averaged, probably anywhere from 30 to 50 on a regular basis. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. All right, let's move on to what I want to ask a few questions about. Now, you were a competitive archer. Now, how did you get into competitive archery? Was it through high school, or did you just pick it up as a hobby, or how did that come about?
Well, more of a just to pick it up. I wanted to hunt more, and I picked up my first compound bow, and I hunted that winter. Well, I laid it down. Well, middle of the summer, a friend of mine says, "Hey, they've got," and I forget which exact tournament it was. He said, they got a tournament over here. And so I went over there, and these guys are shooting multiple arrows, 20, 30, 40, 50 arrows, which I shot one time this last winter. And I literally love just shooting and the precision it takes. And I picked it up, and man, I shot hard for about 12 years and blew out my back in life, and I had to have a few back surgeries. So I got out of it and kind of picked up barbecue. That's how I got into cooking barbecue.
Oh, so how does the competitions go? Whoever hit the most bullseye, or how did that go?
Yeah, we traveled the country, and there was different types of aspects of it. We did what was called 3-dimensional. It was foam targets shaped like different animals, or we could shoot what you'd classify a target, a true bullseye looking target. And that would be out to 50 meters, which is 54 yards. And so we'd be shooting, let's see, it's a 3-inch center, 2.5-inch center. And we're shooting for that. So different types of disciplines.
That's far. That's far. Wow. I didn't know it was that far.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So let's explain how you got into being a butcher. So did you go to school for it or how did you become a butcher?
Well, no, I didn't go to school for it when I was 14 years old. Well, my dad was a bricklayer. My grandpa was, my great grandpa was. That was our lineage.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a kid in the summertime, after you was out of school for the summer, you went to work with dad. And I remember when I was 13, I remember when I was 14, man, them summers out there laboring for a bricklayer, this cat didn't want to do. I didn't want to do that my whole life. But when I was 15 years old, here in this little small town I live at, there was a little small grocery store. I went to work in the grocery store, and the older guy that was their butcher there, I'm 6'5", and he told me, he said, boy, he said, call me tall boy. He said, tall boy, he said, you want to learn how to cut meat? Man, my eyes perked up and I fell in love with it. I loved every aspect of it. Talking to the customers across the counter, visiting with them, explaining the cuts of meat, helping them out. And I sat there all the way through high school. I sat there for 4 years working with him and working with the customers in the counter. And I never had to go labor for a bricklayer.
Oh, wow. How long did it take you to get the hang of the butcher aspect?
After I actually graduated high school, I went to work for another retail store, a big chain, and I stayed in the meat business 34 years. I owned and operated in that time frame there at the end my own meat processing plant, where we did everything from thousands of pounds of sausage to we still did the farm kill. We'd go out to harvest the animal, the beef and pork on the farms, and then we'd bring them in and hang them up and take the customers' cutting sheets and let it age out, and then we turn and cut it and freeze it and give it back to them.
Oh, wow. And what kind of skills and knowledge does it take to go into being a butcher?
Common sense. I mean, seriously, I know that sounds crazy, but common sense is what it is. If you've got 20 T-bones sitting on the in a counter and it's a Monday, you don't need to cut anymore. But if you've got 20 T-bones sitting in the counter and it's Friday afternoon, you better have something there for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday grillers. Yeah.
What about as far as the aspect of breaking the animal down?
Mother Nature, that's something Pappy always explained. Mother Nature makes a mark on every animal. Beef, pork, chicken, makes no difference what it is. You just need to know where to hit it. You can break a beef down almost all the way with a simple boning knife. You just have to know how and where to hit it. There's lines that are on it. You just need to know it, and it'll also teach you your angles. A lot of today's butchers are what we call box beef producers. They get it all come in either already boneless or in a box with nothing but, let's say, ribeyes. Well, that's a whole different world than what we came from. But do we know how to do that? Absolutely. I did that for 20 years. But I'd say where I started really taught me a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I recall you were working for Sam's Club butchering.
Did.
So
I
go ahead.
Oh, I just say I spent 12 years with them. Yeah.
So when the meat come into an actual grocery store, do it be the whole big animal and they get broke down, or do it be the individual pieces and they just wrap it?
You buy what you need in your department or in that particular town, city, store that sells. If you sell more sirloins, you buy just sirloins. If you sell more ground beef, you buy more what's called coarse ground, and that's what you use. You don't have to buy the whole thing, break it down, and hope that everything else sells along with it.
That makes sense. I always wonder how they did that. All right, that's good. So when you broke off and started your own processing and butchering, was there a lot of pressure in doing it? How did that feel when you just broke off? Was anybody going to come, or did you feel comfortable doing it?
No, I wasn't comfortable. Was I scared / hesitant? Absolutely. But I had a good name around here. Everybody knew that I did meat cutting anyway. I put the word out and talked to some of the old farmers that I knew and said, look, I'm looking at getting into this. It's going to take me 3 months to get through my agriculture inspections and get the building inspected. And because we had to go through a plumbing inspector to meet what the agriculture required. They had specs for everything, and right up to the height of the rails that the beef rolled on, even the height of that rail was regulated. So there was a lot of things that went into play, and I passed my inspection and everything the first day they came out and inspected, and I told them all that next week. I was like, let's go. Let's get going. Yeah.
All right. So as far as how did competitive barbecue come onto the scene? Did you go to an event or did somebody tell you about it?
Well, as I said, I shot archery.
Hmm.
I injured my back. I had to have 3 or 4 different back surgeries. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was scared to shoot a bow. I was actually afraid to do that. I was sitting around the house, and I've been married 30 plus years, and my wife was not going to let me win at the house. The competitive juices were flowing, but she's going to be the winner. Okay. I'll call it like I see it. And I happened to be flipping through a little paper, and I seen about this barbecue contest, which was about 30 minutes north of me. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool. I kind of felt like I would understand the getting into it. We did a lot of smoking in the shop with our hams, our bacon. We did a lot of Arkansas bacon, did a lot of sausages, and I never thought that I would go in ahead of anyone, but I thought I might go in equal with some groups. And so I went up and I walked around and visited with some of the teams and struck it off with a few, and a few others were more closed door, which I respected. I went back the next day and stuck around while they were passing food out, doing a little bit of that. And man, I come home and I told the wife, I said, I think I can do this. I bought my first Cook Shack pellet smoker. And the reason I chose that is it was really close to the type of smokers I had in the meat shop already. So I was pretty sure I would be able to transfer recipes and methods back and forth.
Okay. Okay. And I guess as far as how long did it take you from going to that comp, and did you take any classes or anything like that, or you just jump right into it?
I just jumped right into it. I did a lot of cooking here at the house. Like I said, I kind of had ideas how I wanted to do it, what I wanted to do. And I thought I had the greatest recipes in the world. You know, we always did or do think that. And I went to my first contest probably 2 months after thinking about it. I finished right in the middle. There was probably 40 teams and I was 16 to 22. I don't remember exactly. I was right in there. I got a chicken call. I remember that. And it seemed like I stayed in the teens on the pork ribs and brisket. And so I was like, okay, I think I got this. And I think I went to one more contest that year. Then the next year I went to 4. And the second contest that year, I won grand champion. And I actually won the next contest. I won that grand champion. Then I decided, well, I think I'm going to take a class, see if I can curve off any of these learning curves that I think I'm coming into. And that's the first time in my life I'd ever tasted Blues Hog barbecue sauce.
Who class did you go to?
Rod Gray's up in Oklahoma or Kansas City. And I'd met Johnny Trigg there. Him and I hit it off right from the beginning. We sat in the back of the class and chatted and talked the whole time. And I've been friends with both of them ever since. Yeah.
Wow. And what was your first year? Was it like
2006?
Oh, 2006. Wow.
Yeah. I cooked probably 6 or 7 contests in 2007. And in 2008, I jumped up to about 15 contests. And I remember we just kept going up after that, 20, 25. We were doing 30, 35 contests a year, probably within 4 or 5 years. We were rolling the roads.
Wow. Now let's get on this, the pellet grill now. 6, this, and you got it early because a lot of people, you probably like one of the only ones probably besides Rod Gray and stuff like that, using the pellet grill. What made you go that choice besides the just kind of what you used to in the butcher shop?
Yeah. What we used in the meat shops was a cabinet style smoker, and the heat came in from one spot. And I studied these pellet smokers, which I use Cook Shacks, the FEC, Fast Eddies by Cook Shacks. I use those in competition. And I had looked at them heavily on the internet for what internet was back then. It was kind of sketchy, and that's what I got. I bought one of those, and I just perfected my recipes using them. It wasn't that I felt that it put off better smoke. I actually felt like it put off a little less smoke. It was I'm not gonna say less smoke, a gentle smoke. That's probably a better word to say. It put off a gentle smoke, but it allowed my flavors to come forefront. And so I think when cooking pellets, you have to add the flavors in to where sometimes with offset smokers and stuff, the wood flavor is so predominant. Sometimes you lose the other flavors and you forget what a real good rub should taste like, or in my world, like the injections. I really think the meat should bring something to the party. And so I always felt that the pellet smokers allowed the smoke to be in the meat on your palate when you're eating it where you want it. If you wanted it up front, like the first bite, you could get that with a pellet smoker. If you wanted it in the back of your mouth, sometimes like the white pepper does, when you put it into your meat, it would come on in that type of a bite. So I was able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And how often did you get criticism for using the pellet grill versus everybody else? Because you were doing this during the drum smoker era and the
Drums
Jambo
weren't
era.
around the whole lot then. It was the
Well,
Jamie Gear
yeah,
world.
yeah, the
Yeah, it was the
Jambo.
Jamie Gear. How often did I catch flack on it? Every contest. And some of them was my friends. It was every contest, especially Friday nights sitting around. They would jump in, but then they would all end up going, yeah, just wait till tomorrow at awards. We'll watch what he does. Yeah,
I bet you they didn't say that when you held up that Jack Daniels trophy.
that's right.
When did you get real confident that you felt that you could hang with the big boys in competition barbecue?
It was when we won the World Food Championships in 2012. You know, I had a lot of grands, traveled back and forth, probably had been to 6 or 7 different states at that point, cooking, just kind of staying in the central region. I'm from Oklahoma. So just kind of stayed here and right around this area. But we went to Las Vegas and cooked that. And there was 80, 90 different barbecue cooks.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, that when I was looking at that crowd going, my gosh, here we go. And when we came out on top, I was like, oh my gosh, we won with some great cooks from every part of the country. Yeah.
Wow. Was it like a regular competition or y'all had to do other meats other than barbecue meats?
It was like a competition. We did chicken, pork shoulders, brisket, and barbecue sauce. Sauce was a category then. And we'd actually went to the Jack that year. That was the weekend. That was 2 weekends after the Jack. And at the Jack that year, we had won first place with our sauce. So I took it out there going, here we go. Let's roll it twice. And we got second sauce out there. So I was like, all right, it's light. Yeah.
So winning those big competitions like that, how did it change as far as your business as well as your seasonings and rubs and stuff like that? Did it propel or?
Yeah, it changed the spice world a lot. We were still shipping, still had the meat shop going. It wasn't nothing different with that. I had a son, our last kid, he was our youngest, it was a boy. He was still in high school and we knew we still had to get him on into college. He wanted to go, so that's where our plan was. And he worked with me out at the meat shop. And we worked all summer long, and he went to college and he cut back working with me. So but the spices kept growing, and I kept going, man, maybe someday I'd go into work and I'd fill orders first and get everything ready for the UPS truck. And then I'd go into the meat shop and get started cutting meat and doing all that. And it would grow. And I go, man, I don't know if I could make enough money off of a bottle of rub 5 days a week to pay a salary. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
But he graduated high school. He's went on, done his own thing, operates a very lucrative and very nice restaurant he owns. And I shut the meat shop down and concentrated on just barbecue, spices, injections, and grilling tools, stuff of that nature. Really, really dove into the back end of that. Being the retail guy I was in the past, I went in with it with an attitude of talking to the managers and the owners the way I used to like to be talked to as a meat market manager. And I kind of understood the perception of what is needed from a vendor. And I just really plugged away at it a couple of years, and I really pushed hard. And finally it got to the point where I was spending the majority of my time doing that. I ended up closing the meat shop down, and that was the last of that. Yeah.
So when did the idea come to you as far as creating your own products? Was it while you were competing or towards the end or?
No, I had my first injections out in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right. Immediately we injected our meats in the meat shop really close to some of our brisket injections we got now. Okay. So it wasn't too far off of that. I injected the first contest I went to, very first one. I injected my pork, and my brisket. That was given. So, and I remember guys there when I was trying to talk with them and everything, they was like, oh, it won't catch on. That's just a fad. No one will ever stay with that. They want real brisket. They want this brisket. Well, I kept in on it and kept perfecting what I was doing. And in 2007, some of the guys that walked the stage with pork and brisket at the American Royal was using our stuff. Well, I knew then, okay, I'm on to something. But yeah, we injected day one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. It's one thing to make a product, it's another one to change how people cook. Did your meat science background have an edge on the products that you created?
Yeah, I think especially whenever I would try to answer questions, people would either be calling or it would be on the barbecue forum, which was a big forum back then. I'd jump on and answer questions for injecting. Facebook was trying to get going at that point, but there was a lot of myths out there and a lot of misconceptions on the injecting and what to use with it and how to mix it, what the process of, and you only can go with just the grain of the meat. That's all you can do. There was a lot of that. So I spent several years educating people. Now it's the norm and everybody just agrees. Yep, that's just how you do it. Well, and I'm really happy with that. That's the way it needs to be. It doesn't need to be my method or this method. It just needs to be the way it is. I mean, yeah.
So when you make a product, do you make it primarily to be like for backyard and comp, or did you make it for comp and then just spend it to the backyard also?
I started out with competition. I thought that was where the world rotated. So we did it with that. We flavored it large for that. It had a really big distributor in the Kansas area that when one year we went to the Royal, and I'm thinking it was 2012, 13, somewhere in that ballpark, he was having a vendor show. So attended the vendor show, set up a booth. We went up early to the Royal and then went to that like on Tuesday. And I was talking with all the vendors. Well, we placed a few thousand cases worth of orders all on rubs, sauce, and some of our tools. Nothing in injections, zero, not even one case. But I got to talking with them that evening at suppers and visiting with them. And he's like, well, local people don't want the not local people, but backyards don't want the MSG. They don't need a powder that can go for 15 briskets. They wanted a ready to mix liquid, open it up, use it, throw it in the trash, don't put it in the refrigerator, nothing. So we started coming out with some ready to use, our liquid products, things like that. That is large for retail stores. Yes, retail stores do sell a lot of our competition powdered stuff because the guys or gals are going in there to buy it, but our liquid injections are a big part of our injection business.
Yeah, you have a different variety of products like the grilling oil. I've never seen that until I seen yours. And
Yeah.
how do you come about coming up with these different products? Do you just come up with an idea and then start working on it, or?
No, that's it in a nutshell. Everything we've come up with was things that I used in cooking. And I don't know, call it entrepreneurship, wanting that dollar. I don't know. But like my grilling tool, we all put liquid butter on our ribs. I used to put a piece of foil underneath my brisket and I would capture that drippings from the brisket. Well, I was using that beef tallow on my ribs, letting that go in it. Well, I like that flavor. Well, I started buying bacon grease, putting that on it. And I realized, it's a flavor and it's an oil. Well, that's why I come up with the grilling oils. It's a butter-based oil with different flavors.
Yeah, I was looking at that bacon grease. I was like, I'm from Georgia, so we used to keeping our bacon grease in a can. So
That's right.
it's already being used. All right. So as far as the retail side, what's been some of the ups and downs as far as getting that started, as far as giving advice to those that want to get into that field?
Well, I think I'll help someone that lesson that I learned the hard way. I had my own recipe for my rubs. You can take it to any bottler, co-packer, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to shoot you back a sample and it's going to be way different than what you did. You're going to like, did you not even taste what I gave you? I mean, that's what you're going to initially think. Well, things are done. Now, a lot of people understand this and know this, but I'd like to think that I helped bring that out, but it's all done by volume. And if you bring it around to the big world, like you're not going to mix it like you are at home, 5 pounds at a time. You know that you go to the store, I buy blankety blank brown sugar, I buy this white sugar, I buy this salt, I buy this paprika, blah, all the way down. Okay, well, you know, okay, I'm going to a teaspoon of garlic, a tablespoon of celery. Okay, well, I then shuffle it all up and that's my rub. Well, what you have to do is do that, and then you have to weigh it. Whatever your finished weight is, let's say it weighs 5 pounds. Let's say 10 pounds for easy figuring. Say it weighs 10 pounds. Well, as you're doing it, weigh everything. Now take the weight of the spoon, the weight of the cups. It's called a tare weight. Take that off. And you only weigh in the dry product going into your mix. So let's say you have a pound of salt, pound of sugar. Well, of 10 pounds, that's what, 10%. Okay. Now you go on, let's go with half a teaspoon of this, tablespoon of cayenne. Anyway, you're weighing all this into the grams and and everything. Well, it becomes a percentage game now. So when you take this to the bottling company and you say, hey, this is my recipe, I mix it at the house in 10 pounds and 32 is white sugar. 34% is brown sugar. 4% is this. They've now got a closer idea. But the best thing to do is then say, I want to buy some of your sugar, some of your salt, some of your garlic, because they're going to have a different grind, a different flavor, and probably a better than what you're going to buy out of a store. Take it back to your house, use that formula that you have, then perfect it. Oh, I'm getting way too much garlic. That's so strong compared to what I'm used to. Now lower your percentage and do it again. Sometimes you don't have to lower the percentage, but if you increase something else, it then overrides that flavor. So you got to be careful and play the game. But then it's closer and you're not having to pay for a lot of lab work that they're going to charge you for every time you take it back in. Okay, you got that. Then when you take it to them, this is where people don't realize it. Then let's say you want to make a big batch, 10 pounds all at the percentage. I need to make a 200-pound batch. Well, 10% of 100 pounds or 10% of 10 pounds is the same 10% of 200 pounds. It's more volume, but it's still 10%. So when you step up your volume, it remains the same. So that's the best and easiest way to do it. But now when you're adding it into your mix, most products has a different color to it. You'll see an orange, a pale yellow, or more red. And people are like, well, how do I get that color? I want paprika. Well, what it is, it's more of an oil. They add an oil into it to turn it. Well, yeah. So what's the most liked or most number one item in most all rubs? It's salt and sugar. 2 reasons. Once, it's cheaper than garlic, but it's white. But not every rub is white. So how do they do that? They add that salt and sugar in, add the oil that they need. Either it can be corn oil to kind of give it a yellow flavor, a paprika oil to do the reddish, and then sometimes you can get different grades of that, which will make it more orange than red. So they color that. Well, that deadens down those flavors a little bit because it's coated. But then they can add in black pepper. That's how you see black pepper flakes in it, is that's not going to get coated. So then you can start adding in your other stuff to after they get the right flavor. And then that's how you can get your flavors in your rubs. So, wow. I'm sorry, colors in your rubs.
Wow. That's interesting. I never heard all that. I heard different people explain it, but they never explained it in detail like that. Wow.
And it's a percentage game. That way, when you go to make a 1,000-pound batch of rubs, 10% of 100 pounds is the same as 1,000 pounds. It's still 10% of that flavor. Yeah.
Wow. Like I said, when it comes to the rubs and seasoning stuff, people got to know what they're doing. They just can't just mix something together and just present it to people or try to sell it out their trunk or whatever. It takes a lot of thought and detail.
It does if you want to be, what's the right word I'm looking for? Consistent. That way, if you're selling it like that, the next time they come up, it'll be the same. If they're going to the wholesale clubs and picking it up in bulk, at least it'll be the same. And you can do that out of your house. There are a lot of states have got what they call cottage laws. to where it allows home bakeries, home mixing. There's just certain things that you have to pass within your health department, state health, but you can still bottle and sell out of go to flea markets and farmers markets and stuff like that. But you can still do it, but do what I just did, and you're going to stay a lot more consistent.
Yeah. And then they got to know what the right ingredients to mix together, because a lot of times the bottle get clogged up and some of one ingredient will pour out more than the other ingredient, or if you do it, just go ahead.
And that's why we put in what we call silicon dioxide. And where you put that in also makes a difference on how it separates. Yeah, you just going down the road, the vibration, sometimes things will rise to the top. And so how you put that 2% silicon dioxide in there will make a difference. Do I want to put it on the front? Well, then it's going to coat that salt and sugar that's only red and not the rest of it. So the rest of that stuff's going to separate. So yeah, there's a little fun to it.
Wow, you explained that excellent. All right, let's see, where was I? Okay, so as far as one of the things that is impressive to me is your website, not your products and stuff. You got products for everything, but the main part that stood out to me was the blog and the recipe section. And what people don't know is, like, it's a curriculum of barbecue fundamentals and advanced techniques. When you sit down to write each post, are you thinking about the backyard cook, the competition cook, or both, or just whatever you feel you just write about?
Certain topics really, to me, only go backyard. Certain topics can be just for competition, but I feel if we can educate one, they might turn into competition cooks.
Yeah.
So for the most part, I'd say it's dealing more for the backyard chef. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's very detailed, and you talk about stuff that normal people don't talk about on their website, like the breakdown of different salts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't talk about that. And you break down each of the competition meats, other meats, how important it is to take notes and everything like that. And most people don't break it down like that. They want to charge people for that information that you giving away for free. So
I got it. And yeah, they want to charge, but most of the classes out there in barbecue, you're going to have some at local shops, and I give them. I've done a bunch of them. That'll be like a rib class. And that might be a brisket class or a turkey class during the holiday season. That's what you're going to get. A lot of times that's only a couple, 3 hours long. Man, you can only touch so much of that. So the knowledge needs to be in someplace else. And when I give a full-blown class, I'd like to call it a culinary class. When we did competition classes, it would be jammed into basically a 24-hour time span. And we're giving you a 2-week culinary class jammed in there. Come in, you get ready with your notebook pad. Let's ask questions, let's get them answered, and we're gonna throw it at you. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that you do is you give the reason why behind each step, and not just telling them what to do. How important is that when explaining to people how to do stuff?
If they know why, and there's a mistake at the end of it and things happened, they'll understand next time, at that step, I need to do this instead of this. It's just like what we've always said in the Barbecue Business Act in classes. I can take 6 people, give them all Devil's Food Duncan Hines cake mix, and say, go make it. We're going to get 5 to 6 different type cakes back: density, thickness, moisture, everything. But if we explain the whys and how comes, or only give them a recipe. If I just come out and gave them a recipe and said, okay, open up the box, pour it into this, put 2 eggs, put a 1/4 stick of butter, blend it, put it in the oven at this, they're going to all come back the same. So let's break it down, give them the reasons, give them the whys, the how it comes, and let them think. That way, when they go home and the wife says, well, this is a little drier this time than it was last time, go look at your notes that you're supposed to take. What was the outside temperature? Was the wind blowing 30 miles an hour? Did you change types of charcoal? Did you have too much fire lit? Was the rib itself 2 pounds lighter than the last time? So many different things that affect it. You might have cooked it for 3 hours, but if it weighs a pound difference, it's going to get done at a different time. So That's what I try to get across to people.
Yeah, because there's a difference between copying and following what you're doing than actual learning what you're
Yeah,
doing and the why behind it. So
yeah,
yeah, like you said, if anything happens, you know why it went south, and instead of
yeah.
just I copied, now I don't know what's going on.
The charcoal, the smoker, the meat, and you were not machines. It doesn't. It's not a machine drill press. It doesn't do exactly the same every single time. There's a lot of variables in there, so you got to know each step as to what variable went south on you.
Yeah, and one of the things I heard you say on the video though that caught my attention is one of the main things you have to do is as far as comes to grilling is the meat, and you start out with the meat you can afford and go from there and master that meat and then go to the next one. Don't try to go from A to D and you
That's right.
haven't took your time to go through A, B, C, D. And I thought that was powerful what you said there.
I still believe that. I'll get a call or something from someone saying, "Hey, I'm cooking my first Wagyu brisket this weekend. You got any tips?" Well, how do you cook your normal briskets? That's the first thing I ask. How do you cook your normal briskets? What are you cooking on? That everything like that. And they'll say, "No, this is gonna be my first brisket." Well, why'd you buy a Wagyu? They're harder to cook, they're unique, they're different. I wished you would have had a regular brisket then. And I hate to say it, it'll scare the death out of them. They'll go, "Well, I might put this in the freezer and go buy a regular one." Good call.
So I said, if you can perfect what you're working at, sometimes you can beat people that's using other higher choices of meat. If you perfect what you're
Absolutely.
doing,
Yeah, you can buy a great choice or prime steak. And if you treat it properly and know how to season it, do everything, know when to slice it on the table for the family, man, that can turn out so good compared to the Wagyu worlds and the upper primes. And man, yeah, it's large all the way through it. Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's talk legacy. Your son Levi has taken over the Butcher barbecue stand, adding modern touches while respecting the history. How does it feel watching him carry the torch?
Honored. Contrary to what we were thinking when he was 16, I think he was listening. Okay, but totally honored. I really am. I love getting those phone calls that say, "Man, we ate down there. We appreciate what you did." And you always will tell them, "Hey guys, Levi does all that." I appreciate the flower petals, but let me tell you, that's Levi and his crew. His crew and them, they take care of that restaurant. They'll ask me, "How often you go in there?" And I tell them as little as I can.
So
I don't want.
when you see him work, do you see that same fire that you had when you were starting out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A couple weeks ago, he invited me. He got invited. We went up and toured the Creekstone meat plant right outside of Wichita there. And I'm going to tell you, him and I was looking at stuff that these other guys didn't. They didn't understand what they were looking at, and we were seeing things in a different point of view. But watching him still catch things and point it out and think. Then when we got back into a conference room, was visiting with all the buyers and that stuff. The questions that was being asked, I was like, "Yeah, that's my boy." So yeah.
When you go to the grocery store now, being a butcher and having all the experience, do you look at the meat and be like, okay, they didn't do a good job on this, or they did a good job on
Boy, I'm probably what's that they say? A doctor makes a bad patient. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's my answer. I hate going to a restaurant and they'll come out with something. What do they call pork tenderloin? I want a pork tenderloin, and it'll come out and it's a pork chop. I'm like, that ain't a tenderloin. That's a pork chop. Oh, no, that's a tenderloin. No, tenderloins ain't this big, folks. They're not 3.5 inches. I mean, a tenderloin's about this big and maybe 7 inches long on a pork. I'm like, well, no, this is that. So my wife just every time they have something like that, I'll ask the waitress or waiter. I'll go, "Is this a pork chop?" Or because I love pork tenderloin, and they'll say, "No, it's actually a pork loin we cut." That's all I want to know. And I'll probably still get it, but I want to know on the front side. Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's funny.
I'm a ribeye steak eater. I love ribeyes. And I love it whenever they come to me and they'll say, like, have you ever been served a steak and when they drop it down in front of you, the first thing they say is, "You want to cut into that and see if it's done right?" I mean, have you ever heard that? Yeah. No, I don't want to. Well, why? I'm going to let it rest a little bit. Yeah. And
That's good.
I don't know how much time we got, but I'll go into that
You
rabbit hole
good.
if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay, everybody wants to know. That's one of the big questions I get is when is the best time to cut your brisket or slice this or do something like that? When meat is cooking, okay? It's in essence, it's moisture inside the muscle fibers. Let's call it like it's alive, okay? On that outside surface, as it's in that hot chamber, it dissipates. It goes into the cooking chamber. So the only moisture left is what's on the inside. So if you're looking at it that way, where is the most probable chance that that moisture can stay alive? It's going to be right in the middle because those outside surfaces are getting hotter and hotter. So it has to dissipate moisture to cook. It has to. If not, it'll stay 90 degrees the whole time. Okay, but after it's cooked, now when is the best time to slice it? That's the ultimate question. Have you ever sliced a steak or a brisket and you cut into it and there's some of the juices there on the cutting block or the platter and go, oh, this is going to be a juicy piece of meat. 10 minutes later, as you're eating it, you're like, man, that's not as juicy as I really thought it would be. Well, that's because when you cut it, when the inside and the outside is the same temperature, when you cut it, where's now the coolest spot? It's at open face. So where'd all your juices go? Right out to that open face, and it ran out onto your plate. So when's the best time? When the inside and the outside is as equal temperature as possible. And I'm not saying the outside air, the outside surface of that meat, and as it goes down through it, as those can get as equal as possible, then when you cut into it, that open face isn't going to be the coldest, and it all run that direction. That's the best time to cut your meat.
Exactly. That was excellently explained. So that was wow. So I hope everybody learned this stuff. Yeah, you be dropping some knowledge, and because you're one of the first people I heard as far as when you say how an animal is killed affects how the meat is, and you was the first person I heard say that, and I was like, it does make sense.
Yeah, it rigor mortis sets in within an hour, and we can and as it hangs, as it goes through that, the carbon dioxide, because the heart's not pumping, the kidneys aren't working, the liver's not working, nothing is being processed within the animal. So it traps CO2 in the muscle fibers, cell structure wise. It's trapping it in and around those muscles, okay? And as it, rigor mortis goes, as it's breaking down, we call it wet aging, as that comes out of the muscle, it leaves gaps in the muscle fibers. There's basically it's holes. So it loosens it up. It makes it more tender. That's how aging allows the meat to be more tender. You ever cut into a bag of a brisket or a spare rib and there's a lot of juice in there and stuff, and you go, oh gosh, this got a lot of blood in it. Technically, that's not blood, that's myoglobin, because blood would have the oxygen and all that in it. Okay, so that had to come from something within that meat. So if you've got a lot of it in there, in that bag, that meat is either aged or it's gotten warm and it's purged out too much because of that. But it has to be, and it all starts back how it's killed. If it's killed improperly, hung incorrectly, and done all that way, it really prevents it on the far end. Yeah.
Wow. So does that affect the taste of the meat as far as
flavor wise? Taste comes from the muscle fiber itself, the fat, the marbling, all that. Moisture will help entice that on your tongue and allow it to go through everything and get all your taste buds. Okay. That's the reason dry aged meat, people say it intensifies the beef flavor. Yes, it does, because it's removing moisture. So there's more, I won't say raw, it doesn't sound right, straight muscle in your mouth and less moisture. So it's not diluted down as much. So will it help or hurt? Yeah, it has that opportunity to help and hurt it. Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense. All right. I got one quick question and then I'm gonna play a quick game with you. If you had to pick an all-star team of you and 3 other pitmasters to cook a competition, who are you picking and which meat are each of you cooking? You can pick anybody dead or alive.
That's a great question, but I thought by now you might realize that I'm going to ask questions if I don't understand the rules. The first thing I'd say is I want to know the judging process. I want to know. So I got loopholes in my answers.
Okay. It'd be KCBS rules.
That fair enough. We'll just go with that one. That'll cover a lot. And I'm going to go off of way back wins. Okay. If I had to pick, I'd pick a team by the QAL.
Mm-hmm.
I'd let QAL probably cook my ribs.
Okay.
Without a doubt. I'd let Rob McGee, bless his heart, passed away already, but I let Rob McGee cook my chicken.
Okay.
I would let Donnie Teal from Buffalo's Barbecue cook my pork. Okay. And I do my brisket.
Okay. That's a solid team. That's a solid team.
Yeah.
And thing is like I've been fussing episode after episode where the thing that bothers me is there's not enough history that you can look up as far as when it comes to competition barbecue. And like you can look up sports stats. Yeah. You can't look up barbecue stats because a lot of people get forgotten or not even heard of from the newer people because there's nothing that you can look up and find out when Donnie Teal started or find out when Johnny Trigg started or Q-Al or all that. A lot of people ain't even heard of them because there's nothing to reference what they doing back then. And it's sad.
Absolutely. And great note with that. Paul Shoddy, who has passed, he ran and owned Head Country Barbecue for years. Man, his team was Head Country 2 because Danny Head was Head Country 1. Those guys rock and rolled. Eddie, Fast Eddie, the guy that the smokers that I use and everything, he rock and rolled for years in his brisket down in the southern parts of the United States. Ray Lampy, there's another one that had his great thing stuff. There's just so many guys out there. Don and Sharon Wheels, Jumpin' Jack. He perfected the butter bath for chicken that we all use in competition chicken. There's just so many things that are out there no one has a clue about anymore.
Exactly. And you saying that, I've never heard of that. And you're the first person that gave them credit to the butter bath. And I bet you half the people that do it don't even know that.
Yeah. And there's still some of the guys still cooking from way back up. Parrot Head, up Dakotas. And they're all out there, but there's so many that is just tired. They got tired of doing it and they went on.
Yeah, I was trying to reach out to Wozniak, QI, but I got to get an email or something for him so I can talk to him.
Mike is a wealth of knowledge, a huge wealth of knowledge. He was the one that opened my eyes. I remember cooking beside him at a couple contests and the things he was doing, I'm like, what is he doing? And I just kind of sat and study it. His processes made me go, I'm going to question outside of standard barbecue. I mean, he didn't break the rules one bit, but sometimes he could get his brisket cooked, take it off, let it set overnight and go back and rewarm it. Well, doing it the second time, heating it up breaks down muscle fibers. So he got an extra tender brisket. Oh, wow. He used to cut his ribs maybe only 2 inches. Wow. They were so consistent cooking. It was unreal.
Wow.
There was just so much at a lot of the different, like right now, a lot of the guys are cooking just nothing but the money muscle on pork. There was just so much of those steps that was done back then that today, guys, I mean, we used to cook. Paul Shoddy used to take credit for making them cook whole pork shoulders because he would cook the pork tenderloin or the pork loin and turn that in for pork because back then it wasn't designated. So the organizations tried to make it more low and slow, more of what barbecue was known for. So they put the 5 pounds on it and made people cook it longer. Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, you're a wealth of knowledge. I'm like a kid in the candy store right now. A history lesson. Because a lot of the other guests don't know a lot of this history. And that's just.
We'll have to do a part 2 podcast.
I would love to just have a history, come on for a history lesson and stuff like that. Because a lot of people don't know that and would appreciate it. Because I did get the chance to talk to Artie Davis and told a lot of history and stuff like that, which was good. Yeah. But I want to know a lot of the history and the people that came before the people that came that are out now, like pre-2000 or actually 2007, 2008. You don't hear a lot of stuff is not documented on barbecue data and stuff like that. So
it was before all of the computer worlds.
Exactly.
We would have to wait every month to get the national bull sheet to see what contest was close to us. And hopefully that contest wasn't the first of the month because you'd have missed it because it took that long for it to mail and get to you.
Oh, wow. You think about that.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I'm going to play. That's sad that I talked to Rod Gray about it. He said he's trying to I guess, get the bull sheets together, the old ones, but he said it doesn't have full detail. It just have the winners on some of them. So
Yeah.
like, it still kind of doesn't have all the information, but like, it's fine. It's fine. I got a quick game and I'll get you out of here. You know how the college basketball, they have a tournament bracket. So I made up a tournament bracket of 16 meats that you cook on the grill. All you do is pick which one you prefer to eat. And I'm going to throw a twist in with you. With each of the meats you pick one of your products that go good on it, and we'll go from there. All right, your first matchup is brisket versus hot dog. Which one you prefer to eat, and which product do you use on it?
Brisket. Yeah, I prefer to eat brisket over hot dogs.
All right.
Definitely would use a grilling addiction and our premium rub as a combination, and I'd inject that thing with our brisket injection.
All right. Next matchup is smoked chicken versus pork chop.
Man, I'm going to have to go with pork chops. I would definitely have to go with pork chops and everything. There again, I'd probably go with my honey rub and a grilling addiction. Starting to see a pattern here.
All right. Next matchup is pork ribs versus lamb.
Ribs all day long. Ribs all day long. I still inject it. So I'd inject it with my liquid pork, and I'd probably do a little sweet chipotle on it.
All right. Next matchup is steak versus pork belly, and that could be any steak.
My gosh, I'm gonna draw a line in the sand here. I'm gonna make some enemies. As much as I love steak, if I could get Donnie Till to make the pork belly, I would go that way.
Oh wow.
I've had some of Donnie Till's pork bellies, and I'm just going to tell you, amazing. Better than mine, no doubt about it. But if he ain't coming down to cook for me, I'd have to go with the steak. So we might have to go into overtime on that segment. But, yeah.
All right. And next matchup is beef ribs versus barbecue shrimp.
Shrimp.
Oh wow.
Simply because on beef ribs, if I'm going to set around a smoker and do it that long, I'm going to put a brisket on instead.
All right. And what product do you use on shrimp?
I'd use our Queen Bee.
Okay.
I like the thyme and the rosemary, and that goes great with seafood.
All right. Next matchup, we got hamburger versus smoked bologna.
Ooh, probably bologna. Our steak and brisket rub.
Okay. And next matchup is sausage versus smoked ham.
Sausage, like fatty, like a breakfast sausage?
It could be any sausage that they make.
Sausage or what now?
Smoked ham.
Ham.
Okay. And what product?
Well, this last weekend, everything I did my wild cherry rub on it. Yeah. I smoked a ham this weekend. Yeah.
All right. Next matchup is smoked turkey versus burnt ends.
Burnt ends. And it'd be the same exact thing I put on brisket.
All right. So we got that out the way. All right. Brisket versus pork chop. Let's get down to business.
Brisket.
Pork ribs versus pork belly.
Here's that line again.
It could be from any cook you get. Donnie Till versus the best pork ribs you'd have had.
I'm going to lean towards ribs. I'm gonna lean towards ribs. Donnie, you're out.
All right. And next matchup, barbecue shrimp versus smoked bologna.
Bologna.
Right. Next matchup, smoked ham versus burnt ends.
Burnt ends, man. You're cutting them to the quick right there, buddy.
All right. Brisket versus pork ribs.
What was it? What was the two?
Brisket versus pork ribs.
Ribs.
All right. And smoked bologna versus burnt ends.
Burnt ends.
All right. And the finals is pork ribs versus burnt ends.
Oh, you going to make me say, ain't you? Burnt ends. Burnt ends.
All right. Burnt end is your winner. All right. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge and giving your time. If you want to give your website and promote anything, you could definitely do that at this time.
I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate the time on here working and everything, playing with you and drawing lines in the sand, kicking my friends to the curb. Our website's just Butcher BBQ, butcherbarbecue.com. We got a Facebook page, Butcher Barbecue. We got an Instagram, Butcher Barbecue. A pattern again. But yeah, just look up Butcher Barbecue. Yeah,
definitely. And like I said, everybody, check out that blog and recipe section, the wealth of knowledge and stuff like that. And Like I said, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and all that you're doing for barbecue. We thank you for your legacy and representing the pellet grill, because that's what built my confidence, was the pellet grill. Because I got frustrated because everything was tasting like lighter fluid. I gave up. Then I went to somebody's house, saw a pellet grill because I've never seen one before. I went and bought one with a stimulus check during COVID.
Okay.
And the rest was history. I started working the pellet grill. I'm like, this is a lot easier. Now I can focus on the meat and getting it done, and then go back to learning the grill, charcoal, and all that. And
That's right.
I got addicted.
Cool.
All right. On that note, we'll see everybody next episode. Thank you for joining us for another therapy session. And remember, like, follow, and subscribe to help the barbecue therapy community. And also visit our website at www.bbqtherapypodcast.com.